Can you hear me? All right, cool. Hasn't been too long since I've seen you guys, but I wanted to vent about something that I don't think my aunt's ever going to pick the time to hear, because I'm starting to sense that she's definitely getting tired of depression, sadness, frustration, and the lack of, I don't know, family support or something after raising 2 or 3 generations of kids. I struggle enough trying to be vocal about some things with my teenager niece. And now my other niece is my second oldest niece, Cheyenne. She's 10? She's going to be 11, I think, soon. She's 11 or 10, one of those two. And I'm getting really worried about her. I don't know, for some of you that don't really have any nieces or nephews, and maybe this isn't the channel or this video for you, so maybe you can just click that X button and just ignore this and leave. But for those of you that do, that actually have a decent or really strong connection with your nieces and nephews, then do my best to stay and listen. But I don't know, I admit I do not know a whole lot about depression and sadness and suicide and self-infliction and all that stuff, but I try to do my best to understand it and show support and offer listening ear and a cold to shy on, you know, that big heart, cursed heart stuff. And I always can imagine that, you know, it's understandable, I guess, when adults have it, like 30-year-olds like me and up. It's understandable that teenagers would have it because fate is not always as kind to them. And this is really distracting, this little light. I'll turn it off. Hold on. There we go. Sorry. I'm trying to improve a little bit better. Anyway. And just because the hormones are flowing, you're just now realizing about the dark stuff in the world and within your family. You're actually kind of acknowledging it and being aware and all that stuff. And hold on. I don't know if that really helped or anything. I don't think I did. Never mind. Anyway, and because you're actually realizing some stuff about yourself, so you're kind of basically learning not only about yourself, but about the world and your family and kind of how the world works and on your own body at that. So it's pretty stressful to be a teenager and very, very hard to do if you don't have a whole lot of family or friends to back you up on a lot of this struggle, frustration, and unhappiness. I don't doubt that being a teenager is really, really fucking hard. I, to be honest, do not remember much of my teenage years, literally at all. I remember maybe my 13th birthday party, and after that, it's just all a blank. I remember my 20th birthday party being celebrated in a bar with a bunch of people I'm not really that close to. It was a bunch of drunkards, ugly-ass couples, and just uncomfortable people. And the only thing I got was a Shirley Temple for a drink and talking about getting a tattoo. And that was freaking it. And the bad thing is that was shortly after my mom had passed. So, yay. Anyway, I got my lunch with me today on a positive note. There's not much for microwavables. I'm trying to save some. So I got an Atkins mocha latte. And I got a Light and Fit vanilla. I do like yogurts. I'm trying to find ways to control my hunger, my Norwegian hunger, that I could eat a steak, pizza, a milkshake, a soda, a big thing of fries, and a cheeseburger all at the same time. I love vanilla. It makes me happy in some sense. So I'm going to try to eat and talk to you guys at the same time. So hopefully you won't mind my eating habits and manners. Anyway, my little preteen niece has been going through quite a few changes, I think physically and mentally. And all the stuff she's been kind of holding back growing up has finally started to explode. And my aunt doesn't seem to notice or care about it. So me and her big sister, the 17-year-old, I think, or 16-year-old, are trying to cope with it. But I know big sister is annoyed with it and frustrated when she doesn't answer. But I think that's what happens when you yell at her a lot and call her names and don't bother being more of an emotional stability instead of just an angry sister. So I'm starting to see that she's kind of like me, where she only trusts people that actually support her and hang out with her, draw with her, or go outside or have deep talks outside or in the bathroom or watch a movie together. Just, hanging out, be a friend and a sister / family member at the same time. That's what I think makes a whole family a lot happier. Fuck, this is good. Now I think I'm going to have to brush my teeth after this. Sorry. And yes, it's a fork. And in this household, there's hardly any spoons. There's maybe a few plastic spoons and then one metal spoon. The rest is baby spoons like this. So spoons are on the list to get, whether they're plastic or metal. I think I'm just going to have to look for plastic because I'm kind of in charge of my own groceries. My brother hardly ever eats. He'll just bring home something microwavable or something from online ordering like Pizza Hut or Domino's, or just bring something home from Subway and eat that. Or eat nothing but rice and ramen and beer. And yet he criticizes me, if you really want to be healthy, stay away from pasta, even the whole wheat pasta. Anyway. Sorry, I actually curled my hair last night, and I like it when it's curled like this. It feels right. Anyway, there was an incident that kind of started this all. Every time my family argues, bitches, whines, or complains, or, yell at the kids, scare the crap out of them unnecessarily, or are insensitive, or decide to take it out on me, I do my normal thing of isolating myself, being quiet for the rest of the day, not saying hi to them, not talking to them, etc., etc. Usually they don't notice or they don't even care, so I figured they don't care either, so why should I? You know how, I'm pretty sure I talked about how one of my grandmas, the only grandma I am kind of comfortable with, it actually seems to accept all that I am, even though she doesn't know all that I am. She just thinks I'm a good kid and a hard worker and a caring person. But she doesn't know everything, and I'm going to keep it that way. I don't want to break an old lady's heart. I can't handle that. I actually respect my elders. I'll hold the door open, grab something for them, or try to guide them to something like that's in their store or whatever. God, this is so fucking good. I'm always so apprehensive with yogurts. Anyway, we were at Grandma's for Christmas one day, and in her small town of Ashley, there's a park nearby that's about, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 blocks away from her house. And usually it's always snowing there. But this one year, this incident occurred to where her teenage hormones and depression and unhappiness and sadness and feeling nothing and wanting to die came into view. The weather was actually nice and sunny and beautiful. So dressed in jeans and a pullover like usual. We actually had my cousin Casey and her stupid boyfriend, her little kid Dwayne from a different relationship from her ex, my niece Savannah, big sister Fancy, and Casey's older brother Christopher, and me and Cheyenne all go to the park to just kind of hang out for a few hours. They're so bored at grandma's. There's no Wi-Fi. The TV's kind of been taken over by football, and there's nothing but cooking and kind of talking in the kitchen, so there's literally nothing to do. And usually when it's nice out at grandma's, I like to go for walks, hang out outside, or go to the park. If there's a park, I'd be sure than hell they're happy to go. All done. Now on to the shake. Anyway, so I thought we all go. They all followed. It was kind of a nice little walk, even though it's not super long, thank God. We got there, and a lot of the playground stuff there is not the best because a lot of it looks rusty. They could improve it. There's a lot of shade. There's bathrooms. There's a water fountain there, so that's good. There's merry-go-rounds. There's a big kids one. There's a little kids one. There's trees. There's benches with shade. Excuse me. And, it's actually a decent little park. There's even a big, huge gazebo with, like, cool little vines and fake weed flowers growing on them, but it needs a bench or something on it, so that'll be a real true treasure of a park. But anyway, we went to a little merry-go-round that's near, like, the little sandbox and the stupid, dirty little tunnels and everything. Now, the merry-go-round there's two kinds, kind of. There is the old-ass playground where it has little disfigured animals on it. There'll be like a horse, a seahorse, a bunny, or a turtle, or a lion, something like that. And they're really kind of faded, but you can tell there's a saddle and the ears and everything. There's that merry-go-round, and there's a small one that was like multiple colors. But I think if I remember right, this one was red and yellow and blue. But it was kind of small and rusty, but if you don't hang on, you're going to fall off, like most of us have experienced. So far, I love merry-go-rounds, but I like it when it goes fast, but not too fast, or I have to literally cling on for dear life until my whole body and my hands sweat to death, and then when I get off, I feel dizzy and kind of lightheaded, and then I feel happy again. But for some of the kids out there, it's very scary, and they don't want it to go that fast. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to play with my rocks. Shimmering in the light. Anyway, all the little kids were hopped up on there, and Casey, James, and Christopher were watching. I was watching from kind of a distance. I was hoping just to go there just to explore the park, maybe play a game of tag or hot lava. And I was almost thinking about going there early on in the day to sketch for a while, because I like parks that are nice and empty, and there's hardly ever kids on there anyway during the summer times there at the park. And apparently Cheyenne was holding on to Dwayne, and he's like 2 at this time because his birthday's like in June or July. So we just celebrated his birthday in Minot, and then we came up here for Grandma's for Memorial Day, I think, or something. And they were going around. Casey was holding on to, not Casey, Cheyenne was hanging on to Dwayne on the little merry-go-round, and Christopher kept, pushing and pushing and pulling and making it going faster and faster. But it was going a little too fast, and Cheyenne accidentally, not intentionally, not purposefully to harm him or out of hatred for him, just accidentally, accidents happen. And she accidentally let go, and he fell to the ground and started crying and everything. And of course, James, Christopher, and Casey and Fancy started laughing, and Savannah kind of started laughing. Sharon was shocked and horrified. She didn't mean to. She felt like Casey or something was going to yell at her or something. I was a little concerned, of course. I was kind of laughing because, it's fun when kids fall on stuff like that. But he wasn't going to get hurt. It was soft grass and sand at the same time. So chances of him getting a serious, nasty injury or death is pretty low. And Christopher, of course, was being a bit of a dick. And I think Fancy And they're saying, "Oh, why did you let go of her? Why did you let go of him, Shan? Why? He could have gotten hurt." And I think they were kind of like joking to yell at her, and they really upset her, I think, to a really high point. And after all of a sudden we were getting ready to leave, and Dwayne was fine. Dwayne was totally fine. Christopher left. Fancy was in there, was getting ready to leave, grabbing all their water bottles. James, Casey, and Dwayne left to go walk home. But Shan went to, I was going to stay a bit longer because there's no hurry to go back home. But Shan was walked off a little bit, like close to the edge of the playground, and sat down. And I just sensed that she was either crying or she was thinking deeply about something, like she was upset. So Savannah was still playing, and I had my Walkman and my drawing stuff with me. So I sat down and I started talking to her, and she literally broke down crying. It felt like they yelled at her. She didn't mean to. They kept teasing her. And then she kept talking about how Fancy always yells at her. She feels alone. Savannah's always mean to her. She wants her mom. I feel so alone. And I always feel it's so weird sometimes, and I hate it because everyone makes fun of me. I always get picked on at school. And I just, a whole bunch of emotions that I did not expect from any of my nieces at all. I knew Shan was starting to become a tomboy because she wore jeans and shorts and T-shirts a lot. She hardly ever wore skirts, but usually she wore something under them. And Savannah's still more of a girly girl, but she's starting to become really random in her clothing. For some reason, it's just, I think, a phase that's going to come and go. And I started talking to her, and she was crying more. And all of a sudden, Christopher came by.